Whispers Beside the Ghost Dog. Chapter 1, The Quiet Paw Steps. I don't remember the exact night he first came to me. Maybe he was always here, waiting for me to step softly enough to notice him. I like to think that every time I open this old door and slip into the hush of my garden, he waits with the same patience that belongs only to shadows and loyal memories. Tonight, the air is thick with the promise of rain that never arrives. The sky hangs low, draped in drifting clouds that catch the faint moonlight like wool. I step barefoot onto the porch, feeling the rough wood under my soles. It creaks under my weight, complaining in the softest way, as if reminding me how many nights I've walked this same path, seeking nothing, finding him. The stone path stretches before me, winding through the garden I never really tend but always love. The stones are cold underfoot, scattered with fallen petals from bushes that bloom without my asking. Somewhere between the third and fourth step, I feel it, that gentle hush at my back, like breath against my ankle. I know it's him. The ghost dog. I don't turn. I never do. If I look too hard, he might slip away. He's not here to be seen. He's here to be felt, a hush that steadies the parts of me that scatter when the day has been too loud. I pause by the rose bushes, their petals folding in for the night. In daylight they stand bold and fragrant, but now they seem to bow under the weight of the hush. I kneel, brushing my fingers against a blossom that droops low enough to greet me. Behind me, a soft shape settles, or maybe it's the air wrapping itself around my shoulders in his name. When I was small, I remember pressing my face against the window glass during storms, watching for the neighborhood dog to pass by. He was real, then, a brown mutt with eyes full of stories he never told me. He'd stand at the corner of the yard, tail wagging slow, a king of the rain. I'd tap the glass, whisper my secrets into the dark pane, and pretend he heard them all. Maybe this hush is the echo of that mutt, stitched from every word I let drift into the storm. Or maybe he's older still, a guardian spun from stories older than my own small wishes. I rise and step deeper into the garden. The path splits ahead, one side curls toward the old pond, the other drifts into the orchard where the trees grow wild, branches tangled in whispers of wind. I choose the orchard tonight. My feet brush fallen leaves that crumble softly under my steps. Behind me, his paw steps match mine in a rhythm I never hear but always feel. No sound, yet my bones know he is there. I reach the first tree, an ancient apple whose trunk splits and curls like an old man's crooked spine. Its bark is soft with moss, and I press my palm against it, grounding myself in its patience. Beside me, the hush circles, a tail that flicks against my thought, a nose that nudges me to keep moving. I imagine his fur, not warm, not cold, just there. The way air feels when you step from sunlight into shade. The way breath curls from your lips on the first crisp night of fall. He is that, a shape made of the in-between. I keep walking, weaving between the trees. Above, branches reach toward each other like old friends touching fingertips in the dark. The wind shifts, brushing my hair back from my face. Somewhere in that breeze, I feel him press closer, like he's leaning his head against my hip. A weight that isn't weight at all, just enough to remind me I'm not alone. I think about names. I've tried to give him one, whispered to the hush when my thoughts get too loud. Ghost. Shadow. Echo. None of them stick. He doesn't need them. He knows when I call him without sound. He knows when my mind drifts too far from the quiet path. He brings me back. The orchard ends where the wild grass begins. I step off the path, letting my toes sink into the dew-damp meadow. Each blade of grass bows under my steps, rising again behind me like a promise that nothing I press down stays down forever. He moves ahead of me now, or maybe beside, or maybe inside the hush that hums around my ribs. I remember being 12, sitting on the back porch with my knees pulled to my chest. It was summer, and the fireflies had come out early, drifting like tiny lanterns too small to guide anyone but me. I imagined then that somewhere out there, a dog was padding through the long grass, carrying my quiet wishes on his back. Tonight, I feel him in every flicker of the meadow's hush. A story that didn't end with the porch light turning off. I find a spot where the grass grows in a soft hollow, like the earth remembering an old bed. I sink down into it, the damp seeping into my skin, cool and patient. The ghost dog settles too. I can't see him, but the hush thickens at my side, folds around my shoulders, drapes across my heartbeat. I lie back and watch the sky. The clouds drift like slow thoughts, and in the spaces between, stars wink out, small, patient lights. I imagine him lifting his head, nose pointed at the heavens, catching scents no living creature could name. I reach out a hand and let it rest in the grass where I think his paw might be. The air hums back, a silent echo. I wonder what he sees when he watches me, if he understands how my thoughts unravel when I'm here, under his watch. If he knows how the hush he carries settles the restless parts of me that never learn to sleep through the noise. I stay like this for a long while. The night breathes around us. A bird calls once, far away, and then the hush folds over it too. The orchard behind me sighs, the trees dreaming their slow, green dreams. When my eyes grow heavy, I imagine him circling once, twice, a silent ritual. A guardian laying down beside my drifting thoughts. He'll be here when I rise, or when I drift, or when I come again tomorrow night seeking the same hush I find only in the brush of his ghostly fur. And so I close my eyes, not to end, but to drift with him in the quiet place where paw steps never fade, where shadows breathe comfort into the soft fold of the dark. Chapter 2, Lanterns Along the Path. When I stir again, if this drifting can be called waking, I am still in the meadow's hollow where the grass bends softly to cradle me. The air is cool and carries a hush that sinks deep into my bones, filling the small spaces that daylight always leaves empty. I stretch my hand into the damp grass, brushing against the place where I know he rests. The ghost dog is here. He never leaves before I do. I sit up slowly, blinking at the sky. The clouds have drifted on, leaving a deep sweep of stars above me. They hang quiet and unhurried, like tiny lanterns someone forgot to snuff out. For a moment, I watch them flicker. Somewhere behind me, the hush shifts. He circles once, his presence brushing against my shoulder, an invitation to rise. I stand, the grass clinging to my ankles, cool with the night's breath. The orchard looms at my back, its trees folded into shadows that seem to watch without watching. I turn toward the path that curls along the edge of the meadow, an old trail half swallowed by time and weeds. Lanterns hang there, I remember. Lanterns that glow with a light no flame feeds. I step forward, barefoot and slow. The ghost dog pads beside me, or maybe ahead, or maybe inside the hush that gathers around my ribs. There is no sound of paw steps, only the soft press of presence against my thoughts. The trail welcomes us as if it has always waited for this moment. The first lantern sways gently from a bent iron hook. Its glass is cracked in places, the metal rusted where years of rain have kissed it again and again. Still, the light inside glows steady, a soft, golden breath. I pause beside it, letting my fingers hover over the warm glass. He pauses too. I feel him circle behind me, brushing past my calf like a thought nudging me back into myself. I wonder who lit these lanterns. Some nights, I tell myself it was me, another version of me that comes ahead, tending the path for the me that comes behind. Other nights, I think maybe it's him, the ghost dog, padding ahead in his hush, pressing sparks into the dark to guide me back when my mind drifts too far from the hush we share. I move on. The trail narrows, curling between low hedges and wildflowers that bow under the lantern's glow. Each step feels slower than the last, as if the earth itself wants to hold me still long enough to listen. Crickets sing softly in the underbrush, a gentle chorus that drifts in and out of my thoughts. Sometimes I think I hear another sound too, a faint jingle, like a collar tag brushing against fur. It comes and goes. Maybe it's memory, maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's both, and that's enough. We reach a bend where the trail widens into a small circle. Here, 5 lanterns hang from old wooden posts, leaning together like friends whispering secrets no wind can carry away. I step into the circle, feeling the hush gather thick around my shoulders. He sits beside me, a shape of quiet loyalty, woven from the shadows and the steady hush of my heartbeat. I sink to the ground, letting the packed dirt cool my palms. The lanterns hum softly, their glow trembling in the breeze. I close my eyes and listen to the sound the hush makes when he leans closer, not a sound at all, but a presence that wraps around my spine, loosening knots I didn't know I'd tied. I remember another night, years ago maybe, or last week, time slipped strange on these paths. I was smaller in that memory, knees pulled to my chest at the foot of my bed, the window cracked open to let the world in. I remember the faint shape of a dog on the other side of the glass, tail wagging slow, eyes bright with the promise that nothing waits alone if you listen closely enough. He is that promise now. A hush that carries me through the places where thought grows too loud, where shadows gather sharp. Here, in this lantern circle, he reminds me I am never truly alone. I open my eyes to watch the lantern sway. The night folds soft around us. If I look past the posts, I see the trail drifting on, more lanterns waiting, more hush to carry me forward. But I don't rise yet. I sit with him, pressing my palm into the dirt where his paw might be. The ground hums back, a quiet echo that feels like breath against my skin. He shifts closer, or maybe the hush simply deepens, folding around my shoulders like a cloak stitched from all the stories I haven't told yet. I breathe slow, letting my thoughts untangle in the space he keeps safe. I stay in the circle for a long time. There's no rush here. Time loosens its grip when the ghost dog curls close. The lanterns flicker in the hush like steady thoughts, patient enough to wait for me to stand when I'm ready. I trace small shapes in the dirt with my finger, circles, spirals, looping lines that mean nothing but feel true. Beside me, the hush shifts. I feel him press his phantom nose against my shoulder. A weight that isn't weight at all, yet steadier than any stone I could carry. Sometimes, I speak to him here. Not with my voice, the hush is enough. But tonight, the words drift out like low murmurs, weaving into the hush between us. You're here. You're always here. Even when I forget how to listen. He doesn't answer in words. He never does. Instead, the hush deepens, folding my whispered thoughts into something softer than silence. When I finally stand, my knees creak like the old porch boards back home. The circle seems brighter than when I first arrived, as if the lanterns have gathered more of the hush into their glass bellies. I reach out, brushing my fingertips over the nearest one. Warmth kisses my skin, a promise that this light will wait when I wander too far. I turn down the narrow trail that drifts away from the circle. The path is older here, stones swallowed by moss, wild grass pressing in from both sides. The ghost dog slips ahead, invisible paws parting the hush just enough for me to follow. Sometimes I glimpse a shape in the corner of my eye, the curve of a tail, the flick of an ear. But when I look directly, there's only the hush, wrapping the trail in a quiet so gentle it hums through my ribs. I remember walking this way once, long ago. My shoes were too tight, my mind too loud. I think I was running from something then, an argument, a door slammed too hard, a name shouted down an empty hall. I came here barefoot that night too, toes pressed into the forgiving dirt. I didn't know he was here then, or maybe I did and just forgot how to feel his hush. Tonight, there is no door to slam. No name to shout. Only the ghost dog's quiet presence, brushing past my thoughts when they start to tangle. I reach the next lantern, its post half swallowed by ivy. The flame flickers inside the glass, steady even as the wind sighs through the meadow's edge. I pause here. The hush thickens, wraps around my shoulders like a shawl. The ghost dog circles once, twice, I feel him without looking. His phantom fur brushes my fingertips when I reach out. In my mind, I remember the warmth of a real dog, the rough scrape of his tongue against my palm, the thump of a tail on wooden floors. I wonder what he remembers. Does he carry scraps of those nights too? A boy kneeling by a fence, offering a crust of bread to a mutt too proud to beg but too hungry to run. A hand buried in fur, whispering secrets too heavy for small shoulders alone. Maybe he holds those pieces for me, stitching them back together in the hush we share. I step on, the lantern's glow fading behind me as the trail curves into a grove of low trees. Here the branches reach low enough to brush my hair. Dew drips onto my shoulders like small blessings. The hush thickens under the canopy, his domain. A kingdom of quiet, ruled by soft paws and the promise that no thought is too loud to be softened by silence. I find a fallen log and sit again. The ghost dog settles close, so close I feel the hush press against my side like a heartbeat that's not my own. I listen, to the wind threading through leaves, to the distant sigh of the meadow, to my breath slowing in the hush he keeps. I could stay here forever. Sometimes I think I have, that every step away is just another circle back to this same place, this same moment. The hush never changes, though I do. My fears, my worries, the heavy knots I drag behind my ribs, he untangles them with each slow, quiet loop of his phantom paws. I lean back against the log, feeling the rough bark press into my spine. Above, the branches sway like the slow rocking of an old cradle. He lifts his head, or maybe I just feel the hush shift. I imagine he sees what I can't, paths that drift beyond the grove, lanterns waiting just out of sight, doors that open only when the hush says yes. I close my eyes. The hush folds deeper. His tail, or the idea of it, brushes across my knee. I think about what waits ahead, more trails swallowed by grass, more lanterns leaning together like old friends, more nights when I'll step barefoot into this hush and find him waiting. I don't have to know the whole path. I only have to listen, to the quiet paw steps behind me, beside me, inside the hush that hums through my thoughts when the world gets too loud. Tomorrow I'll wake, if waking means anything at all. I'll press my palms against the old porch rail, feel the wood sigh under my weight, and know he's there waiting, paws pressing softly against the places where my thoughts scatter. And I'll step barefoot into the hush again, lanterns flickering ahead, the ghost dog pacing beside every shadow I dare to keep. Chapter 3, The Meadow's Edge. I don't know how long I sit under the low trees, my back pressed to the fallen log, my hand resting where his phantom paw might be. The hush is thicker here, as if the grove itself breathes him in and out, folding us both into the same patient exhale. The ghost dog doesn't stir, though I feel him shift sometimes, a soft weight brushing my knee, a breath that isn't breath warming the hollow under my ribs. When I finally stand, the hush stands too. It curls around my shoulders as I brush pine needles from my palms and step back onto the faint trail. It's narrower here, barely more than a ribbon of trodden grass threading toward the meadow's far edge. The ghost dog pads ahead, or maybe he drifts beside me, a loyal echo pressed close enough to keep my thoughts from scattering into the underbrush. I walk slowly. Each step is deliberate, the hush reminding me that there's no need to hurry where time folds so gently. My feet sink into the earth just enough to feel the pulse of roots buried deep, the small shifting lives that never show themselves above ground. He feels them too, I think. Sometimes I catch the hush pausing beside a gnarled tree, as if he's sniffing stories hidden under bark and stone. The trail slips out of the grove and spills into an open stretch where the meadow begins again. Here, the grass grows taller than my knees, soft blades bending under the hush of my passing. Fireflies drift lazily among the stalks, tiny lanterns flickering on and off in a language only the hush knows how to speak. I pause and feel him press past my thigh, a tail flicking through thought instead of flesh, a nudge that says keep going. So I do. I remember another summer night, when the world felt too tight to breathe in. I'd slipped from my bed and padded barefoot across cold floorboards, careful not to wake the house that dreamed around me. Out the door, down the porch steps, into the garden, the same hush waiting like a familiar coat shrugged over my shoulders. Only that time, he wasn't here yet. Or maybe he was, but I hadn't learned how to feel him. I sat under the apple tree until dawn, waiting for something I couldn't name. Tonight, I wonder if that waiting stitched him together, fur of hush, eyes of quiet, paws that leave no mark but know exactly where to press. The meadow opens wider with every step. The trail all but disappears, swallowed by wildflowers and weeds that have never known the sharp cut of a blade. I press my hand to a tall stem as I pass, petals brushing my wrist like small, sleepy sighs. He drifts closer then, the hush thickening, a warmth I can't see but trust all the same. I stop at a cluster of stones, half-buried markers that look like teeth rising from the earth. Maybe they were once a fence, or a wall, or a promise that someone tried to keep. I sit on the largest, feeling its cool press against my thighs. The ghost dog circles once, twice, the hush brushing over my shoulder, my back, my hip. He lies down in the grass at my feet, or maybe he lies through the grass, the blades bending where the hush settles thick. Above, the stars gather like tiny campfires too far to warm my skin but close enough to settle in my chest. I lean back on my hands, toes digging into the dirt. I listen, not to the wind, not to the crickets, but to him. The hush hums steady under my ribs, a soft promise that I don't have to hold any of this alone. I lean forward, brushing my fingertips through the hush that pools where his phantom head might rest. The grass bends under my hand, trembling as if caught in a breeze that only I can feel. His breath, or something like it, curls around my wrist, weightless yet steady, like the memory of warmth long after the fire's gone out. Sometimes I wish I could see him fully, catch the flick of his ears, the tilt of his head when he listens to thoughts I don't speak aloud. But I know this is not his way. He's not here to be seen. He's here to remind me how to listen, not with ears, but with the quiet place behind my ribs, where the world's sharp edges soften if I'm gentle enough. I stand again, stepping off the old stones, and the hush rises too. It drifts ahead, parting the grass just enough to show where my feet should land next. I follow without thinking, step, hush, step, until the meadow's edge folds into a small hollow I've never found before. It's a bowl of wildflowers and soft dirt, framed by leaning birches whose trunks gleam pale in the starwash. Here, the hush feels deeper, thick like velvet around my shoulders. He slips ahead and settles at the center, a shape stitched from shadow and my quiet hope. I kneel, pressing my palms into the soft ground. I remember kneeling like this once beside a real dog, fur matted from rain, nose cold but eyes so bright they swallowed every word I tried to say. That dog is gone, buried under an old oak I still visit sometimes when the world feels too wide. Maybe a part of him lives here now, padded into the hush that waits for me every time I stray too far from myself. I whisper his name, the old dog's name, into the hush, and though the ghost dog doesn't flinch, the air hums back at me, low and kind, as if to say I remember too. I press my forehead to the dirt, breathing in the scent of earth and crushed petals. The hush curls around my shoulders, through my hair, over the curve of my back. It gathers every frayed edge of thought and tucks it in where worry can't reach. After a while, I shift to lie on my side, knees pulled up, cheek pressed to my folded arm. The ghost dog presses closer. I feel him in the slow drift of air against my ankle, the brush of invisible fur at my hip. He doesn't speak, doesn't bark. His loyalty is quieter than breath, a weightless promise that nothing is lost if you're willing to listen for it in the hush. I close my eyes, letting my thoughts drift like pollen on a warm breeze. Above, the stars blur into softer shapes. The birch branches creak, leaves whispering secrets only he understands. Maybe he carries those secrets for me, every promise I was too afraid to keep, every wish I dropped like a stone into a well too deep to echo back. I dream, or something close to dreaming, of running my hand through his fur. It's not cold. Not warm. Just there. Like stepping into shade after a long walk in the sun. Like slipping into a pond that holds you without pulling you under. In this hollow, the world feels folded in half, daylight tucked under dusk, worry pressed under hush. There is no past heavy enough to drag me back, no tomorrow sharp enough to push me forward. There is only this, the soft breath of grass under my palm, the hush that drapes over my shoulders, the steady presence of a dog I can't see but trust more deeply than I trust my own heartbeat. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls once. The ghost dog lifts his head, or maybe the hush simply thickens in answer. The owl calls again, softer this time, as if it knows this hollow belongs to him and me alone tonight. I breathe slow, counting each rise and fall of my chest like lanterns flickering on a faraway path. The hush counts with me, paw steps pressing gently into thought, tamping down every worry that tries to open its mouth. When my eyes slip fully closed, I feel him curl closer, a guardian made of hush and loyalty, circling once, twice, before settling into the cradle my dreams shape for him. I know when I drift, he'll stay. When I wake, if waking means anything at all, he'll stand, tail flicking through the hush, ready to pad ahead and show me the next quiet place waiting just beyond the meadow's edge. And so I drift deeper, breath by breath, paw step by paw step, the ghost dog circling my quiet heart until the only thing left is the hush, soft as fur, steady as dawn waiting far beyond the whispering trees. Chapter 4, Beneath the Birch Shadows. When I drift awake, if this gentle unspooling of thought can be called waking, the hollow is still here. The birch branches sway above me, their pale trunks catching the first hint of dawn's breath. There is no sun yet, only the soft promise of it folded into the edge of the sky. I lie still for a moment, listening. The hush is steady beside me, circling through the grass where his phantom body rests. He's here, the ghost dog, curled close enough that I feel the warmth of something that has no warmth, the weight of something lighter than breath. I shift, pressing my palm into the damp earth. The grass springs back around my fingers, brushing skin still marked by sleep's soft fading. He lifts his head, or so I imagine. The hush thickens at my shoulder, nudging me into a slow sitting shape. There's no hurry. There never is, not with him. Beyond the birch grove, the meadow opens in pale folds of silver mist. The hush drifts forward, paws pressing invisible shapes into the new light. I stand, stretching my arms toward the branches above. Leaves rustle in answer, a quiet applause for this small waking. Sometimes I wonder if he guides me or if I'm the one who drifts toward him each time my thoughts get too loud to hold alone. Maybe it doesn't matter. Here, beneath the birch shadows, all that matters is the soft hush that slips ahead, tail flicking through drifting mist. I step out of the hollow and onto the meadow's edge. Each blade of grass bows under the hush, springing back once I pass. Dew clings to my ankles like tiny, forgiving ghosts of rain that never fell. He stays just ahead, not leading but waiting, a gentle sentinel to remind me that not all wanderings must have a destination. I pause at a patch of wildflowers blooming small and stubborn between stones. Purple heads nod on slender stems, delicate yet certain in their quiet claim of this forgotten corner. I crouch to touch one, petals softer than breath against my fingertips. The hush curls close behind me, brushing my back like a tail sweeping thought clear of worry. I remember being 12, knees scabbed, palms full of splinters from the old garden fence. I'd sit for hours with my chin on my knees, watching ants trace invisible maps across the porch. Back then, I used to wish for a dog to sit beside me, a shape that didn't ask for words, that understood how silence could be its own kind of story. Maybe I wished him real then, piece by piece, fur woven from hush, eyes stitched from the patience I never knew I had. I stand again, brushing dirt from my palms. The hush shifts with me, pressing lightly against my side as I move toward the place where the meadow folds into the old orchard. The path isn't marked by stones or lanterns this time, just the soft weave of grass bending beneath unseen paws. We reach the orchard edge as the sky lifts its veil. Early light threads between the gnarled branches, weaving gold into leaves still heavy with night's breath. The hush slows here, circling around my ankles, urging me to match its quiet pace. I listen. Inside the orchard, memories flicker like low lanterns, half-familiar shadows stitched into bark and roots. I see my younger self curled in the crook of a tree, book balanced on my knees, pages fluttering in wind that carried no storm. I see the ghost dog's shape there too, though I didn't know how to name him then. He was just a feeling under my ribs, a hush that told me the world wouldn't tip me off its edge so long as I stayed still enough to listen. He presses close now, nose brushing thought more than skin. I pause beneath an old apple tree whose branches dip so low they touch the hush above my head. I run my palm along its trunk, rough, patient, a reminder that some things grow crooked yet stand longer than those forced to be straight. The hush thickens. He circles me once, twice, paws pressing soft prints into the orchard floor, footprints that vanish before the next breath can find them. I kneel, forehead resting against the bark, eyes slipping closed under the hush's gentle weight. I think of all the paths that brought me here, doors I closed too hard, words I left unsaid, small silences that grew into rooms I couldn't leave. And through them all, this hush waited, a ghost dog pacing the edges of thought, patient as dawn curling slow fingers through the orchard's leaves. I stay like that, forehead pressed to bark rough enough to remind me I'm still here, not drifting too far, not slipping away into the hush so deep I forget where my breath begins. The ghost dog settles behind me, a weightless warmth along my spine. If I listen closely, I hear him breathe, or maybe it's the hush drawing in and out through the orchard's roots, weaving his shape from the same soft threads that hold my thoughts together. When I open my eyes, the world has grown a shade brighter. Light filters through the leaves, dappling my arms with shifting patterns that move like slow water. I stand again, brushing moss from my palms, feeling the hush adjust with me, a gentle reminder that he's ready whenever I am. We drift deeper into the orchard, branches arching overhead like cathedral beams knitted from bark and dreams. I pass under each archway as if crossing into smaller worlds, a patch of ferns here, a clearing there where wildflowers gather in whispers of color no one planted, yet here they are, alive without permission. At the center of this hidden orchard lies an old stone bench. I've seen it before, though maybe only in dreams stitched from dusk and wishful memory. It sags under its own weight, split down the middle by a thin seam of moss that blooms soft green in the shade. I sit. The hush pools beside me, pressing lightly against my thigh, circling once as if to settle every restless thought that might still flutter like startled birds inside my chest. I remember a summer when I sat here once, smaller, sadder, clutching a piece of paper I never found the courage to read aloud. I'd come here to speak it into the trees, but the hush had found me first, curling around my shoulders, softening the words until they melted back into my heart where they belonged. Now, older, softer, I trace my finger along the moss seam, feeling the stone's patient chill seep into my skin. The ghost dog lifts his head, I sense it more than see it, nose brushing the air as if catching sense of things I've lost along the way. I wonder if he gathers them for me, small scraps of forgotten laughter, promises dropped like coins in deep pockets, worries I buried under too many should-have-beens. Maybe he carries them the way a real dog might carry a stick, not because he needs to, but because he knows it brings me back to myself. I lean into the hush. My breath slows, folding into the orchard's rhythm, leaf rustle, hush paw step, the soft hush of my own heart letting go. For a moment, I close my eyes and imagine what he'd look like if I could truly see, for the color of moonlit shadows, eyes that know how to hold a secret without asking for anything in return. A tail that sweeps away the dust of my regrets each time I come here to sit. I whisper his name again, or the name I think might fit him, but the hush only hums back, as if to say names don't matter when loyalty is this patient. When love is this quiet. A breeze slips through the orchard, brushing hair across my cheek. I stand slowly, stretching my arms toward the canopy overhead. Leaves shiver in answer, drifting a few pale petals down onto my shoulders. The ghost dog circles once, brushing against my ankle in a way that feels like a soft nudge. Come on now. There's more hush waiting. So I step away from the stone bench, my footprints swallowed by moss before I take the next. The orchard path curves toward a low gate half hidden behind a curtain of ivy. I push it open with my fingertips. The hinges sigh, a sound softer than memory, softer than regret. Beyond the gate, the hush flows wider, folding the orchard behind me like the last page of a book I know I'll open again tomorrow. The ghost dog steps through first, or maybe he's already on the other side, waiting in the hush for me to catch up. I stand there for a moment, one hand resting on the gate's old wood, the other brushing the hush that drifts past my hip. I feel him circle back, pressing his presence against the place just above my heartbeat, reminding me that this is enough, the path, the hush, the slow drift of breath beside loyal paws that never touch the earth yet always find me when I need them most. I step through. The hush gathers at my heels, and the ghost dog flicks his tail through the dawn's quiet edge. Ahead, the meadow unfurls in new light, dew-kissed, endless, waiting. There will be more lanterns, more stones to sit on, more places for the hush to hold me when the world grows too loud to bear. And always, always, he will pad beside me, silent as a secret, soft as a wish, loyal as a hush that never asks for more than I'm ready to give.